A Search for God Paraphrased. Meditation from Psalm 46. Be still and know that I am God. Prayer. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen. A Search for God Paraphrased. Meditation. Introduction. In the material world, we are aware of the phenomena of growth. We should be equally aware of spiritual growth, including a broadening of our understanding of the relationship with our Creator. As our understanding of this relationship broadens, our capacity for more useful lives improves noticeably. The desirability of escaping physical existence has been overemphasized. The average individual looks at spiritual things as intangible, ethereal, and unconnected with normal life. From reading 34:16-1, question 4. How may I best develop myself spiritually? Answer: through prayer and meditation. Always turn to Him and daily practice the love of the Christ. A new commandment I give you, love one another. Manifest that in every way. Let everyone that you meet be happier for having met you, for having spoken to you. You can do this by spreading joy. This is the way to develop. Then in your meditation, present yourself as a willing channel to be the eyes, hands, and voice of the Master. The eternal question running through life is this: what is truly valuable in thought, in activity, and in experience? A dependable estimate of what is worthwhile can only come from within. This inner realization depends fundamentally on an understanding of self in relation to others and to God. Meditation is the means to this end. Section 2, Prayer and Meditation. 2a, Prayer Defined and Illustrated. From reading 3569-1, remember the injunction, never worry as long as you can pray. When you can't pray, you'd better begin to worry, for then you have something to worry about. Some individuals give little thought to either prayer or meditation. They are satisfied without a spiritual anchor, drifting with the current, hoping that somehow, somewhere, conditions will work out for them. Others seek a better way. They search for a light giving more perfect understanding of their present lot, renewing their hope and justifying their course of life. From reading 281-61, take those things that can disturb you to Him, who hears prayer and answers whoever prays in faith, nothing doubted. Prayer is a concerted effort of our physical consciousness to attune to the consciousness of our Creator. It is attuning our conscious minds to the spiritual forces manifesting in the material world. It may be a cooperative experience of many individuals coming together with one accord, one mind. Some use prayer as an outward show to impress people. To others it means entering the closet of the inner self, emptying out the ego, and letting the inner being fill with the Father's Spirit. Christ illustrated these divergent attitudes in the following example. 2 men went up to the temple to pray, one a Pharisee and the other a tax gatherer. The Pharisee stood up and prayed thus: I thank thee, O God, that I am not like the rest of men, greedy, dishonest, adulterous, or for that matter like this tax gatherer. I fast twice a week, I pay tithes on all that I get. But the other kept his distance, and would not even raise his eyes to heaven, but beat upon his breast, saying, O God, have mercy on me, sinner that I am. It was this man, I tell you, and not the other, who went home acquitted of his sins. See Luke 18th chapter, beginning at the 10th verse. 2b. Meditation defined. Meditation is listening to the divine within. See reading 1861-19. Meditation is emptying ourselves of all that hinders creative force from rising along the natural channels of our physical bodies and disseminating through the sensitive spiritual centers in our physical bodies. When we enter meditation properly, we are made stronger mentally and physically. Quote, "He went in the strength of that meat received for many days." Unquote. Meditation is neither musing nor daydreaming. It is attuning our mental and physical bodies to their spiritual source. It is arousing our mental and spiritual attributes to express their relationship with their Maker. This is true meditation. Meditation is prayer from within the inner self. It not only partakes of the inner physical man, but of the soul aroused by the Spirit within. In prayer, we speak to God. In meditation, God speaks to us. From reading 2533-4, "For as was given of old, say not as to who will descend from heaven that ye may have a message, for lo, it is in thine own heart." 2c. Will prayer answer for meditation? Will asking a question answer it? No, but it shows we desire information. Therefore, it has merit. Just so when we pray, our prayers show our Heavenly Father our anxiety for His guidance and help, for the manifestation of His promises in our lives. But to hear the still small voice within and know all is well takes an attitude of waiting, of listening in silence after the preparation by prayer. Prayer, therefore, is a foundation for meditation. We may know God only when we are still. When we know Him, we are willing to say, "Thy will be done," and mean it. It is then He sups with us. From reading 257-87, do not allow yourself or your activities in meditation to become mere rote or routine, for you don't find unless you seek, nor will the door open unless you expect it to. In prayer, we ask for cleansing. To be fit to meet our Lord in true meditation, we must be clean in mind and body. Thus, prayer and meditation complement each other. Section 3, Preparation for Meditation. 3a, Preparation of the physical body. 1. A knowledge, cleansing, and consecration of the physical body. From reading 2475-1. Without preparation, desires of every nature can become so accentuated they can destroy or over-exercise, bringing detrimental forces unless self acknowledges the desire and purpose and sets them in self's influence as to its direction when activated by the Kundalini influences through the body. We are miniature copies of the universe, possessing physical, mental, and spiritual bodies. These bodies are so closely knit together that any impression on one affects the other two. The physical body is a composite unit of creative force manifesting in a material world. The physical body is so all-inclusive that it contains a miniature replica of everything that man can comprehend in the universe. It is both our privilege and our duty to know ourselves and to know that our bodies are temples of the living God. From reading 281-18, question 6, should one meditate when not in good physical condition? Answer, as we have given on prayer and meditation, when one can separate self sufficiently, that is, set aside the conscious mind to attune to the superconscious, to be able to meditate properly, it is helpful. When one cannot, best not attempt it. From reading 307-10, question 3, has my method of meditation had anything to do with my physical condition? Answer, no. Rather, the physical condition has had much to do with the manner in which those conditions act in the meditation. A weakened condition of the body may be so overstimulated by concentration in meditation as to overtax the general physical system and become detrimental, but the fault is in the physical and not in the meditations. Also from 307-10, question 4. Please advise how I may through meditation rejuvenate my body. Answer: rejuvenate the physical first. Then we may make a better accord for the mental and spiritual to be active through same. Spirituality, mentality, and the physical being are all one, yet may indeed separate and function one without the other, and one at the expense of the other. Throughout the ages, individuals have found that preparation is necessary for deep meditation. Some find it necessary to cleanse their body with pure water, avoid certain foods, or avoid sexual activity. Others use unique breathing techniques to balance their whole respiratory system, thus producing normal circulation through their bodies. Still others find odors, incantations, sounds, or music conducive to meditation. As the current rises through our body centers, these outer influences may help cleanse our thoughts and quiet our mind and body. So-called savages arouse their passion for destruction through battle cries, drones, or other sounds. This is the same force used negatively. The following is an illustration. An engineer must wear special clothing before going into an electric power plant. He must thoroughly know and understand the mechanism he will handle, lest death and destruction result. In attuning our bodies to the source of all force, is it any wonder cleansing and understanding are just as necessary? He has promised to meet us within our own sanctuary. He that goes in unworthily invites destruction. From reading 281-29, first remember this. Don't attempt to open any spiritual center until trying your own conscious relationship to creative forces, and by your spiritual answer finding self not wanting. Do not misuse the spiritual centers. While the method varies with the individual, to meditate we must shut ourselves away from the world's cares and physically purify our bodies. The law gives, consecrate yourselves today to present yourselves before the Lord tomorrow, that he may speak through you. God speaks to us as a father speaks with his children. Have we wandered so far away that we don't dare await his presence? Don't we remember he promised, if you will be my children, I will be your God? And though you wander far away, if you will but call, I will hear. From reading 281-54, question 7, true or false? Anger causes poisons to be secreted from the glands. Joy has the opposite effect. The adrenal glands are principally involved, reacting through the solar plexus to all parts of the body. Answer: the adrenals principally, but all of the glands are involved, as a nursing mother would find that anger would affect the mammary glands. An infant nursing would find the digestive glands affected. We must find that which, to our consciousness, is the best way of purifying body and mind before attempting to enter meditation. When we raise an image through which we seek to know the creative force's will, actual creation takes place within us. From reading 2475-1, then who and what would the entity have to direct self in such experiences? To be loosed without a governor or a director may easily be harmful. But don't let such a director be that of an entity. Instead, surround self with the universal consciousness of the Christ and be directed by his influence. When we find a way to cleanse our bodies, the image we raise finds full measure of expression within, and we will readily understand how thought can disseminate healing of every kind. After cleansing ourselves in the manner we find best, we need not fear our experiences overpowering us to cause a physical or mental disorder. But entering such a state without cleansing can bring disaster, pain, or disease. From reading 2475-1. So in analyzing all this, first study the variations of what has been the body temperament, in thought, in food. For the body physical becomes that which it assimilates from material nature. The body mental becomes that it assimilates from both the physical mental and the spiritual mental. The soul is all of that the entity is, has been, or may be. 3A2, a study of the glands. We quiet our physical body by turning our mind toward our highest ideal. This activates spiritual influence on our body's sensitive vibratory centers, stimulating these contact points between our soul and its physical shell. This arouses actual physical vibrations. Let's trace that activity. When we attune ourselves to the infinite, the reproductive glands are comparable to a motor, generating spiritual power in the body. This spiritual power enters through the Leyden cells, located in the reproductive system. The Leyden cells are like a door. They may be either sealed or open, depending on how we have used them for spiritual activities. With the arousing of the image or ideal, this life force rises from the Leyden cells through the gonads, then along what is known as the Appian Way, or the silver cord, or the pineal center, to the pineal gland at the base of the brain. From the pineal, it rises to the pituitary, the hidden eye, in the center of the brain, just behind the middle of the forehead. This spiritual power, or life force, also disseminates from the pineal gland to all those centers that activate the whole mental and physical being. From reading 281-53, the term aerial means the impulse, the activity that flows in an upward lifting, raising movement. It isn't a gland, but an activity upon glands as it flows to, from, or through the system's various activity centers. Your radio has an aerial, that is an antenna, for communication, although there is no visible connection. It is not part of the framework, but is necessary for reception. So, in the physical body, the aerial activity is the flow through the pineal to and through all the centers. And from 281-53, Question 1. The life force rises directly from the Leyden cells through the gonads, thence to pineal, and then to other centers? Answer. This is correct. But as the life force rises and is distributed through the other centers, it returns to the solar plexus area for its impulse through the system. Thus, on entering meditation, a definite impulse from the reproductive glands passes through the pineal to the pituitary. The ideal of the individual, whatever it may be, is propelled upward and expressed by the mental forces. If this ideal is material, meditation builds in the body a love for material things. If this ideal or image is spiritual, there is spiritual development. Psychic forces are only an awakening of soul faculties through activities in these centers. For an individual trained in spiritual laws after 7 years of meditation, the cycle of change in all body elements, the effect of the pituitary gland alone would make him a light to the world. A person trained in purely material things would become a Frankenstein, that is a monster, without a concept of any influence other than material or mental. During the rising of the currents along the silver cord and in these centers, a body may become conscious of distinct vibrations. There are 3 principal motions corresponding to the 3-dimensional concept of the conscious mind: backward and forward, side to side, and circular. These sensations may appear very real. They cause apparent vibration or motion internal to the body itself, but without outward effect. Another very common sensation is a current passing up the spine, down the spine, or through the body. These may be accompanied by or followed by a lightness or slight dizziness. The reactions differ since our body's composite vibration, acted on by spiritual thought, differs from other individuals. The important point is that definite physical reactions in sensitive centers take place. From reading 281-29, question 22, does the outline of the Lord's Prayer as placed on our chart have any bearing on the opening of the centers? Answer. This indicates the manner in which the Lord's Prayer was given and the purpose for which it was given. The Lord's Prayer is not the only way, but a way answering those seeking a way and understanding to the relationships to creative force. The placement is correct. Note, in the Lord's Prayer, Our Father who art in heaven. Heaven is associated with the pituitary gland, the seventh spiritual center, the crown chakra. Hallowed be thy name. Name is associated with the pineal gland, the sixth spiritual center, the third eye chakra. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done. Will is associated with the thyroid, the fifth spiritual center, the throat chakra. Give us this day our daily bread. Bread is associated with the gonads, the first spiritual center or chakra. Forgive us our debts. Debts or trespasses is associated with adrenals, the third spiritual center or chakra, near the solar plexus. Lead us not into temptation. Temptation is associated with Aladdin, the second spiritual center or chakra. Deliver us from evil. Evil is associated with the thymus, the fourth spiritual center or heart chakra. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory. Kingdom, power, and glory are associated with the fifth, sixth, and seventh spiritual centers, respectively. Also from reading 281-29, question 30. How should the Lord's Prayer be used in this connection? Answer. By feeling, as it were, the flow of meaning of each portion of same through the physical body. The mental body responds to the mental representations of all of these and can build in the physical body as your elder brother expressed it, I have bread you don't know about. 3A3, a study of vibrations. We need to outline a few elementary principles of vibration before any further discussion of meditation. This will help us understand both the vocabulary and our experiences. Science teaches that all matter is in motion, and different rates of vibration result in different states of matter. For example, heating water produces steam by increasing the molecular activity. That is, the particles in steam are vibrating, that is, moving, faster than the particles in water. Our physical bodies are also made up of particles of matter. We have obtained these particles from our food, the air we breathe, etc. Various parts of our bodies are composed of different types of matter, vibrating at different rates of speed. The nervous system, for example, is highly sensitive. Our bones are a denser structure than our blood, muscle tissue denser than membrane, and so on. The combination of vibrations from all these different parts forms a general rate of vibration for the body. This rate constantly changes. Any kind of illness causes discordant vibrations. The higher the rate of vibration, the more sensitive the body to any influence. As we practice meditation, application makes us conscious of these various vibrations in and through the body and mind. When we attempt deep meditation, spiritual forces within and without the body-mind are at first limited by our five senses of perception. This is because we only recognize physical manifestations through these five senses. Even when we learn to lay the physical aside entirely and explore wider realms, we must clothe the concepts we bring back in three-dimensional terms, or we won't consciously understand them. When vibrations emanate life from within, they are material expressions of a spiritual influence, a force coming from life itself. Vibrations can act only on human body centers sensitive to them. Without this sensitivity, we are not aware of vibrations. Vibrations, spiritualized, can be sent out as thought waves, a force of cosmic, that is, universal influence. Thus, they affect those toward whom by suggestion they are directed. From reading 5752-3, meditate on the fruits of the Spirit in the inner secrets of the consciousness, and the cells in the body become aware of the life in the Spirit. The Spirit of life maketh not afraid. Consider the effect of thought on our body in terms of vibration. All thoughts are constructed at different vibratory rates. As the food we take into our body is important from the standpoint of structure, so thoughts are important as factors building our mental pattern. Mind is the builder. It is the construction engineer molding physical matter in its higher vibratory forms. Therefore, we should use thought vibrations only as a channel of help. 3b. Preparation of the mental body. 3b1. The purging of self. What happens in the mental body during meditation? The mind is the builder, the physical the result. The mind is part of both the physical and the spiritual. Most of us are aware of only part of the mind. We call this part the conscious mind. Another part, the subconscious, is the storehouse of memory and the ever-watchful supervisor of bodily functions. For examples, breathing, digestion, and heartbeat. Even psychological investigation reveals only a bare glance of the subconscious. There is still a third part, the superconscious or soul mind. These are only names to aid our imperfect understanding and clarify the different functions of one force. Meditation allows our mind to function in a normal way, but a way that is vastly different from the also normal waking state. Through our will, we ask the mind of our physical body to cease wandering and focus upon our ideal, which we present to the total mind. This ideal is the basis for the resulting activity. If we hold an ideal and purpose which accords with our superconscious mind, the superconscious transmits to our physical mind and body by some of the five senses. That transmitted will be of help and value. Proof of this higher mental activity comes to each of us as he seeks understanding. But if the ideal and purpose are out of harmony with the soul mind, opening the door between physical and spiritual results in turmoil within, striking at our weakest point. From reading 987-4, How? Is it the bringing of sacrifice? Is it the burning of incense? Is it the making of thyself of no estate? Rather, it is that ye purpose. For the purpose of thine inner self, to him is the righteousness. Therefore we must purify our minds if we meditate. Think what we should do before meeting our God face to face. Many are not able to speak to God. Many are fearful. Have we gone so far astray we cannot approach our all-merciful God? He knows our desires and needs, yet he can supply us only according to the purposes within ourselves. From reading 3624-1, take time first to be holy. Don't let a day go by without prayer for some definite purpose, and not for self, but that self may be the channel of help to someone else. For in helping others is the greater way to help self. Therefore let us purify our bodies, our minds, and consecrate ourselves by prayer. Discard hate, greed, and malice. Replace them with love and mercy. Be humble in heart, for we must humble ourselves to know him. Come with open, seeking, contrite hearts, desiring to have the way shown us. Then let us enter. 3b2. The attunement of self to the whole. Attunement depends upon soul development. Compare our attunement with the radios. The attunement of any radio to a broadcast will be near the same point on the dial as any other. But because of manufacturing differences, no two sets are exactly the same. In attuning our consciousness to the divine, each must attune according to his own development. Attunement, like all attainments in creation, is a growth. From the 14th chapter of John, verses 2 and 3, In my Father's house are many rooms, that is, states of consciousness. I go and prepare a place for you, that where I am in consciousness, you may be also in consciousness. True meditation requires proper attunement. Making perfect attunement with the ideal, the infinite, is making our minds and wills one with his in word, purpose, and action. Let us pray. Father, not my will, but yours be done in and through me, and mean it. How can we know we are not in attunement? When we have lost interest in our fellow man. To be out of harmony with our brother is to be out of harmony with our Maker. He reminds us in the 5th chapter of Matthew, verses 23 and 24, If you are offering your gift at the altar, and there remember that your brother has something against you, leave your gift there before the altar and go. First be reconciled to your brother, and then come and offer your gift. And from the 10th chapter of Luke, verse 27, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, and your neighbor as yourself. 3C, preparation of the spiritual body. 3C1, the soul. Meditation unlocks the door between our physical and spiritual bodies and makes us aware of our spiritual force within. Impulses from the soul come through this door, seeking physical expression. From reading 2475-1. Thus an entity puts itself, through such activity, into association or in conjunction with all it has ever been or may be. For it loosens the physical consciousness to the universal consciousness. To allow self in a universal state to be controlled or to be dominated may become harmful. Our physical impressions limit and bind many of our soul's abilities. The soul is always present and always willing to express its purpose, its relationship with the Creator. Meditation opens the way and makes this possible. Some say we are not conscious of possessing a soul. We should know that each of us is a soul. Our body is only our house for the moment, and then we leave it for other states of consciousness and other experiences. Our mental activities take hold upon something not temporal, something that survives the body's death. Our hope, our sorrow, our gladness, and our desire for better things all reflect this activity. Such mental activity comes from our soul, the spiritual center of our being. God breathed the breath of life into man, and he became a living soul. See Genesis 2nd chapter, 7th verse. Therefore each person is a soul, is endowed with the attributes of God, possesses the power of creation, is one with the Father, and is a joint heir with the Son. 3C2, the ideal. There are as many types of meditation as there are individuals who meditate. For some, it is an escape from the world's trials. For others, an access to knowledge, and for still others, an approach to God. Various forms of meditation exist, each with its adherents, but the real significance is in the ideal and purpose. The sweetest incense or most beautiful music won't lift a selfish heart into the Creator's presence. It is much more important to free our minds from hate, malice, greed, and selfishness than to observe any complex form of meditation. Don't become involved and confused by material means to meditation. Instead, first consider the fundamental reason for meditation. Then bring that reason into harmony with the highest desire we can conceive. Definite changes occur within us when we enter true or deep meditation. There is physical activity through the mental or emotional powers. These powers are stimuli within us having our soul as their home. Shutting out thoughts of carnal activities and carnal attributes arouses this source of impulse. Change follows naturally. What should our ideal, our image, our mark of high calling be? It should be the highest aspiration of service we can recognize. When it meets this standard, we bear the mark of the Lamb, the Christ. As we raise this ideal in meditation, we can enter the very presence of creative force. Some of us have so overshadowed ourselves by abuses of the body's mental attributes that we can only raise an imperfect image within. When we meditate only to still the physical, we should use the direct method. That is, empty ourselves of all that is causing our unrest. And as we empty, hold the awareness of our intended physical calm in our conscious mind. But stilling the physical is usually not our aim. The aim and purpose of deep meditation is a higher state of spiritual consciousness. Therefore, we must fix our attention upon the ideal we have raised. Physical quiet of the human organism will follow as the natural result. Then there will be a growth of unity and inner feeling, replacing separate, broken points of consciousness. Now, while fixing attention upon our ideal, we should create a desire to reach the highest state of awareness of which our whole being is capable. This does not mean fixation upon the words of an affirmation. It means a strong desire that the meeting between our inner self and God is unobstructed and without distraction. The body's quieting should result from an inner spiritual effort, not from a fixation of our consciousness on outer stimuli. Section 4. The Forces. In meditation, more than any other time, we are conscious of the forces. We refer to them as psychic, occult, intuitive, universal, and so on. These are only names for the various functions of God. From Deuteronomy 6th chapter, verse 4, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. From reading 2329-3, question 3, Will psychic ability develop normally and naturally, or should there be a deliberate attempt? Answer, as it were, expose self to its development, not by force but by entering into meditation, allowing the influence of the generative forces through the glandular system to be raised to the various centers, first for the purifying of self, then for the obtaining of that necessary, through symbol, sign, or vision, to be accomplished for individual seeking. Our conscious mind's introspection of our whole being's experiences can develop intuitive force until the mind can apply such experiences to daily life. In this process, all the effects of each experience, physical, mental, and spiritual, are considered, thus developing physical awareness of our spiritual and mental selves, and similar mental and spiritual awareness. This is an example of the same forces operating outside of meditation. Individuals often call this entering into the silence. Those who bring their experiences as a whole to the surface by constant introspection are called sages or lamas. An individual who makes this ability practical while remaining spiritual becomes a master. From reading 2560-1, in the psychic abilities, then, keep that faith, that ability to coordinate physical, mental, and spiritual phases of your human experience. We gain by studying the forces manifesting through meditation and introspection, and we should have a thorough understanding of this subject. Never pretend there's anything mysterious about it. Jesus lived without such pretense, doing good among his fellow men. From reading 1152-13, question 1, Why have I never been able to meditate? I go to sleep. Answer, sleep is the surer, safer, saner way to meditate, for when the mind is absent from the body, it is present with your God, your purposes, your hopes. In meditation, we open ourselves to the unseen forces surrounding the throne of grace, beauty, and might which is within ourselves. We need to also surround ourselves with the protection of the thought of the Christ. When our minds are God-centered by our ideal, we need not worry about destructive results. Remember the promise from the 3rd chapter of Revelation. Here I stand knocking at the door. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in and sit down to supper with him, and he with me. And from the 14th chapter of Matthew, 27th verse, It is I, be not afraid. From reading 281-5, question 11. While meditating, I have experienced a perfect relaxation of the body, the head being drawn backward. Please explain. Answer. The nearer the individual's body draws to that attunement as is in the Christ consciousness, the nearer does their body become a channel for life-giving life to others to whom the thought is directed. This manifests the Spirit acting through the body. When we hold the right ideal, our problems are solved and stumbling blocks become stepping stones. From reading 1861-12, question 15, Is it possible to meditate and obtain needed information? Answer, on any subject, whether you're going digging fishing worms or playing a concerto. From reading 5091-2, question 4, How can I be sure the decision I reach is from the light and not my own thinking? Answer, you have a body-mind, or physical consciousness, and also a soul-mind, or inner consciousness. Ask the question to your physical mind so it may be answered yes or no and mentally. That is from your body mind. Get the answer. Then closing self to physical consciousness, ask the same question through meditation. If these agree, go ahead. If these disagree, analyze self to find the hindrance. And from 281-14, question 9. How can I direct healing vibration, culminating in my head, to one I would aid? The answer, by thought. A purely mechanical, metaphysical, spiritual activity takes place. Direct your healing thought to the individual receiving the blessing of the power raised. Raise within self that power which may be sent out, and it will pass to those attuned in accord. If they were present, they would feel a much greater force, and you would have less physical strain. Section 5. Methods of Meditation. We must learn to meditate just as we learn to walk, talk, or develop any other skill. We must direct our consciousness through desire, controlled by will. From reading 1158-25, answer 10. The activities of meditation are personal. For some, the preparations are just as necessary as meditation itself. For as most meditators understand, the individual's attitude is the greater incentive for meditation. And from reading 2475-1, this opening of the centers or raising of the life force may be brought about by the method of breathing. For breath is power in itself, and this power can be directed to specific parts of the body. And from reading 826-11, in whatever manner that to thine own consciousness is a cleansing of the body and of the mind, that ye may present thyself clean before thyself and before thy God, do, not questioning, for he that doubteth has already built his barrier. The following is a general outline. We can modify it to obtain the most fitting, suitable, and pleasing form for our individual use. Our various developments fit us to accept and understand different forms. For some, the simplest approach is best. For others, a complicated procedure is necessary. We must have a spiritual intent and purpose, a true desire to seek his will, not ours, to enter. God is spiritual force and can only be sought by a spiritual ideal. Jesus perfected the way and thus became the way, the example. Let his principle guide us in forming our ideal, our image, which we raise within. Cleanse your body with pure water. Sit or lie in a comfortable position without binding garments. Breathe in through the right nostril and exhale through the mouth. Do this 3 times. Next, breathe in through the left nostril and exhale through the right nostril, also 3 times. Then carry the self deeper into a sense of oneness with the creative force of love and enter into the Holy of Holies. Use either low music or an incantation for an aid. As self feels or experiences the raising of creative force, see it disseminate through the inner eye, not carnal eye. This dissemination brings greater understanding in meeting every condition in the body's experience. Then we may listen to the music each body center makes, each through its own channel, responding to the new creative force being disseminated. We will find, little by little, meditation enables us to renew ourselves physically, mentally, and spiritually. From reading 1152-9, but prepare thy mind and body as if ye would meet thy Lord and Maker. Then sit as in readiness at designated periods. Talk with him from thine inner self as though he were physically present, for mentally and spiritually he is ever present. From reading 413-2, question 1, is it necessary that I meditate at the very same period as the healing group in order to benefit by it? Answer, it is not. There is more in unison, to be sure, but if the meditating of the group and meditation of self is sincere, are they not one? There is no spiritual time. Then are they not one? Note on there being no spiritual time. Romeo and Juliet lived long before Shakespeare wrote his play about 1596. Yet as we see or read the play, the young couple's plight comes alive, touching our spirits as much today as it touched those in Shakespeare's time. Experiences. 1. In meditation, some individuals experience a vibratory sensation which seems to move the body from side to side, or backward and forward. This can become a circular motion within the body, bringing a fullness and whirling sensation in the head. 2. Other individuals feel a coolness on their head and forehead. 3. Some sense pulsation in the lower spine. This may come from nerve impulses flowing from the reproductive center to other gland centers. These gland centers control various activities of the physical body. Let us conduct our mental and physical activities so we may channel these impulses, but don't force them. 4. Others experience a vibration running up through their body and ending with a sensation of fullness in their head. When we raise vibrations within ourselves, passing through all the attributes of physical attunement to the spiritual eye, which is the disseminating center, our bodies become healing magnets. If properly used, we can then heal others by a laying on of hands. 5. A sensation to the eyes indicates a healing vibration. Healing of every sort comes in self before it can be raised in another. 6. A voice speaking to an individual manifests an awakening within him of abilities to communicate, associate, and connect with influences from without self. Then, as given of old, if he will hold and magnify within his consciousness the desire for that voice, that presence, the experiences will be from either the universal influence or his messenger. These experiences will aid in bringing various consciousnesses to self. Magnify this in self and for self. Be mindful that the voice is not clothed in some power other than creative force. 7. Finally, there is the passing into the presence. The presence may manifest in voice, feeling, sight, or a consciousness of one with the whole. Section 6, Conclusion. If self-development is our aim, then we must begin just where we are. Idly wishing we were in some other condition or surrounding does no good. Until we master our present state, any other will be worse. The first and last obstacle to overcome is understanding ourselves. Until we are fully aware of all that constitutes our existence, we have incomplete knowledge of the aim and goal of life. Our capacities and abilities far exceed our conscious awareness. Let us not fool ourselves by accepting an incomplete expression of consciousness. Meditation is the safest and surest way to understand ourselves. It is the key to the door of the real world. Without meditation, the door remains closed. Let us study and know ourselves. Let us dare seek, not blindly, but with faith, so we may find the noble self. Our approaches and results may differ, but the same understanding, same expanded consciousness, and same state of awareness are the ultimate goals. 2 attitudes are essential. 1, a strong desire to seek truth. 2, a constant, consistent effort to move forward. We need to be continuous and regular in meditation. Awaken the inner self regularly, daily if possible. Hold the ideal actively. A broken period of meditation accomplishes little. In the end, the reward is well worth our effort. Many of us waste hours each day, yet just a few moments of daily search within can bring more peace, joy, and true happiness than any physical activity. Seek first the kingdom of heaven. Where is the kingdom of heaven? It is within. What he said long ago is still true, and has been true from the beginning. Call on him and know our bodies are temples of the living God. There he promises to meet us. Are we afraid? Are we ashamed? Have we so belittled our opportunities and defamed our minds and bodies that we are ashamed to meet God within our tabernacles? If such is the case, let us set our tabernacles in order. Our body's spiritual centers are points of physical contact between our physical organism and our soul. These connections are as real as nerve centers and fibers carrying impulses from the eye to the brain. There is a golden bowl that one day must break, and a silver cord that must sever from the physical body of each individual. See Ecclesiastes 12th chapter, 6th verse. The goal of each soul search is a greater awareness of God. Meditation increases this awareness in daily life. It will leave us better prepared after this life to meet our God and to start our next spiritual journey. What is our God? Is our ambition limited to what we shall eat tomorrow and what we shall wear? We have little faith and little hope when these are the paramount issues in our thinking. Do we know we are God's? We are of His making. He has willed that we shall not perish, but He leaves up to us whether or not we become aware of even having a relationship with Him. There are ways to approach Him in our temples, our bodies, through the desire to know Him. We make that desire active by purging our bodies and minds of all hindrances. It has been given of old that it is not up to those who would descend from heaven with a message for us, or up to those who would come over the seas to us. Rather, it is up to us to find Him in our own hearts and consciousness. Would we ask God to do for us what we wouldn't do for our brother? If we would, we are selfish and can't know God, because what we do to any of our brothers, we do to our Maker. When we seek to know Him, these become experiences, not mere words. He is not past knowing. To know Him, we must turn to Him, expecting Him to meet us face to face. Our expectation must be in our acts, looks, and hopes. As He came to His disciples in their sea-tossed boat and reassured them, so He comes to us as we seek our relationship with our Maker and reassures us. It is I, be not afraid. Many of us are afraid because meditation is different from our established ideas. We are uncomfortable with change and say, I don't understand. Why? Have we so belittled ourselves in mind, body, and consciousness, and become so shriveled that our opportunity to meet our Maker within is useless? Let us purify our bodies and minds. Let us consecrate ourselves in prayer. Let our hearts be humble, for to know Him we must be humble, and come with an open, seeking, repentant spirit, wanting Him to show us the way. When He shows us the way, let us be true to the vision He gives us and not turn away. When you call, I will hear and answer speedily, He promises. When He speaks, we can open our hearts and minds to our opportunities and glories. We can accept them in meditation by attuning our consciousnesses to the Christ consciousness. Then we can say, let others do as they may, but as for us, we will worship, yea, we will serve the living God. See Joshua 24:15. Even in times of severe trial, He is near us. He is nearer than our right hand. He stands at the door of our hearts. Shall we beseech Him to enter, or turn Him away? End of A Search for God Paraphrased, Meditation. Reading is by the author L. Nelson Farley. Recording engineer is Mike Crowell. Recorded at EDGAR in Hampton, Virginia.